So for the past few weeks, I've been testing out the HP Pavilion Aero 13, and this has immediately become my favorite laptop on the market right now. And really, this all comes down to having an overall package that is very well balanced. The keyboard, trackpad, and speakers are all really fantastic for such a small 13-inch chassis. And if you get the ceramic white color, you actually get a backlit keyboard. Now, the specs of this system are the Ryzen 5 5600U and 16GB of RAM paired with a 1TB SSD. And for the specs that we're getting here, this is a very nice package, especially because we get a 16:10 display here, and 16:10 has immediately become my favorite aspect ratio for laptops. This is an incredible screen. Now, in terms of I/O, we have pretty much on one side just a full-size USB and the charging port, and on the other side we have a full-size HDMI, a USB-C, and a headphone jack. And the USB-C does support display out, and it does support charging over USB-C. Really, overall, I'm in love with this entire system. It's such a small package, but you get a lot of power, and if you pair this with 32GB of RAM, you can get a monster of an editing machine right here. And the fact that the 16:10 display is just 1080p resolution essentially means that we get excellent battery life while still getting some very nice visuals for a 13-inch screen. Now, if we compare the system's performance to the other systems that I have, we pretty much are comparing it to the HP Pavilion 15 over here and the Gateway 14-inch. So if we look at the Cinebench scores that we get on these systems, we can see that the 5600U pretty much ends up giving us a best of both worlds situation here, where we're getting better single-core performance than the i5 in the 1135G7, while also getting better multi-core performance than the 5500U, though not by a significant margin. But the single-core boost is already noticeably higher than the 5500U. And what this means is that in a lot of gaming scenarios, we're going to get about equal or better performance than the 5500U, though not in all scenarios. There will occasionally be certain games that will lead to maybe it performing a little bit worse, but for the most part, they should be relatively comparable. Really, the biggest differences between the two is just the fact that the 5600U actually has a higher level of usability when it comes to day-to-day tasks because of the fact that it has that better single core performance. And it's really that overall better performance and the fact that it is a small package and the display on it is just so nice. That 1920 by 1200 display is just so good. It's such a good resolution, it's a matte display, and it's a decent level of brightness. It's overall a fantastic experience, and it's at this point the system that I use the most because I just end up using it in bed all the time, and it's more than powerful enough to do some work on. I've actually ended up making thumbnails while just laying in bed just out of sheer laziness, and just the fact that it's easy enough to do on there because it has more than enough single-threaded performance to handle it perfectly. In fact, it's actually better single-threaded performance than my desktop. Honestly though, whatever your next laptop is, get a 16:10 display. It's honestly like a night and day difference compared to using a 16:9 display. It's actually insane. And again, in terms of performance, you're not going to be losing out on anything compared to the 5500U, which was already a monster of a chip for how much you're paying here. For just a little bit more, you get a overall just significantly better package. This is my favorite laptop in the market right now. It's sleek, portable, and powerful enough for pretty much 99% of the market right now. And if we compare it to the Gateway 14, I mean, it's a smaller chassis, but we have a more usable display. It's brighter, the keyboard is better, the trackpad is better. I mean, the Gateway specifically has a pretty bad trackpad, and the keyboard itself is nothing amazing. And considering the i5 is an overall weaker chip, for the most part, the HP Pavilion is just a significantly better system, even though it is an extra $200 over the Gateway. Now, if we compare it to the HP Pavilion 15, things become a little bit more comparable here, where the trackpads are very similar, the keyboard itself feels nice, it has the numpad, the only downside is no backlight, and I mean, it just comes down to personal preference on whether or not you can lug around a 15-inch laptop, because this is a pretty big boy compared to the Aero 13. But the 5500U is relatively comparable, and for $150 less, it's not too bad of an option. But really, the Aero 13 really just impressed me enough that I would consider this to be the best laptop to buy right now on the market. The level of performance that you get for the dollar is just incredible, where you can get this for as low as $600. Of course, if you want to upgrade things like the storage and RAM, it's going to bring up the price. But anyways, I'll catch you in the next one.